Welcome to Follow Your Joy podcast, where intuition is the doorway to your wisdom, your genius, and your joy. I'm your host, Marla Diane, and I've been transforming creative entrepreneurs' lives for over 26 years. Through 2 businesses as a success coach and a business strategist, and prior to that, an entertainment publicist and a talent manager for 2 decades. It's time to make joy your inner GPS for life and business decisions rather than lean on your logic and reason first. You'll not only be following what is most authentic to you and for you, but you will live the beautiful life that's meant just for you. You'll come to learn that following your joy is a life and a business strategy. Listen in for inspiring entrepreneurial stories and solocasts that illuminate how by trusting your intuition, you'll create a fulfilling result. Want to learn how to access, trust, or up-level your intuition? Join me in the conversation to find out how. All right. Hey, welcome back to Follow Your Joy podcast. It's 4 more days to Christmas. How you doing? So a gentle reminder, everybody, is monitor your expectations, stress levels, and self-care during this time of year. Okay. I'm giving you again, as I did in the previous episode, I'm giving you permission to say no more than yes to activities on your calendar using the leading decision maker, your joy. Does it bring you joy, or will this put you over the edge? Okay, especially this time of year. So speaking of joy, my next guest is a great example of monetizing his joy. My longtime friend, Rico Mandel, is a father, an industrial marketer, photographer, chef, and entrepreneur. He's the creator and CEO of, make sure I pronounce this right, Mise and
Yes.
Place?
Plus.
Okay,
Plus.
Mise and Plus. All right, which is an online e-commerce website dedicated to exploring the artisan gastronomic world through global artisan products, experiences, and stories, which includes culinary experiences, cooking classes, and tours. He's, in my opinion, the example of the consummate creative. He's very much a storyteller using visual arts, food, cooking, travel, and marketing. You've often heard me say when referencing following your joy that, you know what, success leaves clues. And he's a good tangible version of what that means. And here's why. Since the age of 8, remember, success leaves clues here. Since the age of 8, after Rico developed his first roll of film, he realized he had a passion for photography and an extreme curiosity for how things worked and are made. He also loved to play businessman, right, and make movies in kid film classes at Barnesdale Park, which is in the LA area, if you're not in this area. And there's more. He also enjoyed watching cooking shows and would then go into the kitchen and make what he saw on TV, pretending he was doing his own show. I know. Rico loves entertaining and has never been one to shy away from throwing a big party without breaking a sweat. In college, he studied cinematography and photojournalism, that's visual arts, everyone, and landed his first professional photo assignments at the age of 18. And he bought his first business at the age of 19. And as they say, the rest is history, and there's more. Woo! But I'm going to let him tell you about that. And so guess what he's been doing then most of his adult life as a living? Success leaves clues, right? So Rico, welcome to Follow Your Joy.
It's a pleasure to be here. Good to see you, Marla.
Yeah. So before we hear from Rico, I'm going to do a shameless plug for Own Your Genius Zone. And it's a group program starting in mid-January. So I'm going to ask you this, where does this land with you? This statement, I am no longer available for the hurry, hustle, and grind. I'm no longer available. It's a mindset, okay? So I designed a 7-week program, Own Your Genius Zone, to help creative entrepreneurs identify their zone of genius. It's that higher state of creativity, everybody. Has nothing to do with IQ, okay? And everything to do with, again, your highest creativity and how to use it to set boundaries on what you will do and not do while working your business in your most joy, and then using your genius zone as the ultimate leverage strategy while creating higher revenues. What is not to love about that, right? So learn how to master also the balance of the masculine and feminine actions. It's not a gender, it's a principle in how you run your life. It's about self-care and it's about getting it done. It's about creativity and it's about making money, right? So it's both sides. It's a must, right? So that program takes you through that. And what's even more important about the masculine feminine principles and how to use that in your business is that so you're not in your headspace all day and you don't burn out. Hello? Because that's what goes on, is that when we, and especially ladies, guys, I know that's for you, but we're really wired, as you know, differently. If we live in our head too long, for all day long, doing the grind, doing the hustle, okay, we literally shut off our intuition and our creativity and we are numb. And so more so for women, and I can't speak for my creative men, so please say something or comment. And that is, you've got to have that balance of the masculine, feminine principles, as in actions, the structure, the systems, the practicality, the function, the logic, the making of the money, the getting it done, the goals. That's the masculine. Okay. And then the feminine of life is the creativity, the spirituality, the self-care, the circular of life, right? Rather than the black and white. It's I already said spirituality. It's the emotion, right? Emotion. So feminine is a beautiful balance for the masculine, as long as you know how to catch it when you're in your head too long while you're working. Pull away, right? Go take a walk, go do yoga, go do painting, go play your instrument, go do something to get you out of that masculine so that you're refreshed and you go back to work. Yeah. All right. So I just gave you a little clue there. Anyway, the Genius Zone course begins in mid-January, and the early rate ends next week. Right, or I should say, it ends as the timing of the release of this episode. It actually ends tomorrow, the 22nd, for the early rate. Okay, so you head over to marladiane.com/genius zone, and I'll leave that in the show notes and get yourself enrolled. Okay. So Rico, before I dive in with our fun questions, is I want to share with everybody how I know you, right? How we met.
Okay.
Okay. And you can chime in and we can, have a good time on this. So yeah, I mean, Rico, I have known and I added it up, 36 years.
I know. I can't believe it's been that long. Wow.
36
At least somebody
years.
does math.
I know. I was just crazy, right? I went, okay, well, 1986, 2022. Okay, that's 36 years. So yeah, in fact, we met in a self-development. This was the self-development course back then, right, in the 80s. I don't know if any of you were there then, but it was LifeSpring.
Oh my God, yeah.
LifeSpring, which my gosh. I mean, look, it got me on the path to kind of where I am today. And guess what I'm doing? I'm teaching this, I'm teaching human potential. But that's what that was. Yeah.
Hmm.
So Rico and I met there along with several others. In fact, we met our then first spouses through
Yeah.
this program.
Through LifeSpring. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
my second business partner I met through
that's right.
LifeSpring too. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Oh my God, we were so young. Holy cow. Oh, so I know. So definitely we have, seen and witnessed, the ups and downs of our lives. And it's really cool friendship. So awesome. Glad to have you on the show.
Glad to be here.
Okay. So let's give a glimpse to the listeners of your story as to what inspired you to monetize your passions, right? And your joy. And I just gave a little bit of a quick kind of summary of what that is, but kind of tell more of this success leaves clues story angle, which means you were doing this stuff that you were meant to do.
That's a good, because upon reflection and, filling out the thing, it's like, oh yeah, I connected all these dots. I've always loved cooking, and of course doing photography was a big thing. And I always liked filmmaking and talking to people and really getting to know the behind the scenes of whatever's going on, whether it's manufacturing or whether it's how foods are made. Or I did the wine tours back about 12 years ago of the Malibu wineries. I discovered that and I says, oh great, I want to be able to bring people to meet the winemakers and to take them. And in Malibu, it's the vineyards are at people's homes. It's not like you go out to Napa or Sonoma and you've got a big vineyard and you just show up. So taking them to that, and that really kind of just that sparked the initial phase of, well, what else can I do? How can I bring more interesting things to people, and started to look into artisan food and wanting and doing, and it was kind of a culmination of all these different things. And it took me about 10 years to really solidify everything and to finally launch the site, which we launched last year, and to get it all put together in terms of, well, okay, yeah, these are the things that I want to do. I want to introduce people to products. I want to give them experiences. But for me, it was more about connecting them with who's behind the product, as opposed to, yeah, sure, I can sell a bunch of stuff. That's great. But I want the people to have an actual connection to the story and to the pasta maker in Italy who's making this stuff, who's been making it since, his father started the company in 1930, and he was just bringing pasta to his customers at that time in Rome, and he comes from this little town that's on the east coast of Italy that's all about and where that town is known for making pasta, right? And I didn't even know that town was known for making pasta until I actually went there and go, well, wait a second, there's like all these other pasta makers here, and that's what excites me. It's bringing those stories to these people and going, oh wow, I want to taste that. I want to know what that's like. I want to get that experience. And so that's kind of how a lot of the dots keep getting connected.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I see you as you're a storyteller, through these channels, right? Through photography, through video, through products, global products, international products, through the cooking, through you're a storyteller. I mean, if there was, right? If there was one overarching common theme, wouldn't you say it's storytelling?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've been telling stories, of course, through my photography for years, through video work. And that's kind of what the website in general is about, is, telling the stories of these different places and these different people that are behind the product, and it's not only overseas. I mean, I was, I interviewed this amazing cheesemaker who makes phenomenal Gouda cheese. And she came from, Holland, and followed her then, I think, boyfriend over here. you know, and who owned a dairy farm in Wisconsin. And then, and then they got together and she's like, I can't find any good Gouda cheese here. They just didn't. And so she went back to Holland. She learned how to make cheese in Wisconsin, went back to Holland because nobody knew how to make Gouda here. Went back to Holland to learn how to make Gouda, comes back, starts making Gouda. And then within, I think, 6 months after she starts making Gouda, she wins like the first place cheese making prize in Wisconsin.
Oh, isn't that cool?
And it's been like that ever since.
I love it. Great story. See?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's all of these different people and these things that I keep discovering, like, the Texas olive oil guy. I didn't know they made olive oil in Texas. I had no clue.
I don't think I knew that either.
No. But this guy makes incredible olive oil in Texas. And, they named it after, I think, his wife's grandmother or great grandmother, Texana, who homesteaded the property and was growing watermelons and all this stuff. And then they decided they had the property and they couldn't really sustain that. So like, well, what are we going to do with this property now? They had about 125 acres. So, okay, well, we're going to plant olive trees. And that was, I think, in 2010 or something, or maybe 2013. And then they started harvesting the olives and making their olive oil and doing all these incredible infusions with it. But it's, but it's oil on oil. It's not, well, we're just going to flavor it. We're going to actually smoke the olives, press the olives, then smoke the olive oil so that we have a mesquite flavor. Where we're going to combine garlic oil and the olive oil to make garlic olive oil instead of just adding, weird flavorings to it. Yeah. So, I mean, just story after story after story, and the people that I keep meeting, it's just phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. I mean, it's culture. I mean, that's something I've always loved, is just learning about different cultures and it's humanity. It's like learning humanity, learning the cultures. I mean, my minor in college, I was a PR journalism major, but my minor, which I loved, was cultural anthropology.
Oh, yeah.
And man, I got straight A's in all of that. That was so much fun. We learned about cultures, all different, decades ago, types of social, habits and social themes. And I was fascinated by it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cultural anthropology. Who would have known? So yeah, it really speaks to that. So, to kind of put this in a nutshell, it's like, your site, your website represents what you were pretty much doing as a child, the passions, the interests that all came together in kind of in one place.
Yeah. I didn't really completely 100% realize that until I might have been actually listening to your podcast, and one of the things that you were talking about, where, connecting the things, your genius zone, right? And it's kind of like a lot of that comes from your childhood. And what was your genius zone as a child? And then I go, ding, 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 ding. Well, wow, I love to do photography. I love to play businessman. I love to make movies. I love to cook and this. And it was just kind of like, oh my God, I've actually put all of these things together in my business.
What do you know?
Yeah. And then when I look back on the history, I go, oh wow. And I started mastering each one of these things along the way. So now when I put this all together in my business, I've got that down. I know how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a 7 traits of the genius zone, and a few of them speaks to what you're, talking about, but definitely you hit all the marks in the genius traits. But one of the top ones is what comes most natural to you, right? And it's several things, not just one, right? And that's why it's the highest form of creativity, is that what comes most natural to you. Some people have not even, tapped into that. And that's what the genius zone, coaching helps you with, and or takes what you do have to a new level.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And the other trait is that which brings you joy. and that which you love to do and can do for long stretches of time without being bored.
Oh, yeah, all day long. I
All
could
day
just
long. Yeah.
get lost into all this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
when I think about, all these different parts of the business, it's uh, there are things that I was that I didn't necessarily value in my genius zone. I
Mhm.
didn't value certain, like my ability to talk to people, or my ability to put together a party like that, or to um, gather groups of disparate people together to create an experience or whatever. And also to be a big picture thinker, to kind of go, okay, well, if it wasn't a direct point A to point B monetization of it, then I didn't quite necessarily understand it. It took me a long time
Mm.
to understand that I can be a big picture thinker
Mhm.
and get other people to take
Mhm.
care of the stuff that I'm not good at,
Yeah.
or that
Mhm.
I just kind of go, oh my God, this is going to take me forever to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know we've had discussions about this. As an entrepreneur, you're not supposed to be doing everything. You're only supposed to be doing your
No.
genius, and you being the visionary of, a business. That's one of your main roles as owner CEO, is the visionary. And then you have
Mm-hmm.
implementers,
Yeah,
right? You have implementers doing their genius zone to get all of the structure and the details done.
exactly. And thank God I've got great implementers, because boy,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, they do an amazing job.
Great.
Each one of them in their, in what they do,
Yep.
absolutely brilliant.
Great. Oh my
You
gosh.
know.
It is. It's the best feeling to have a team
Mm-hmm.
that really supports the vision, and they're doing, like I said, their genius zone. So they're happy
Right.
and they produce good work because they're in their genius zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, this is a good segue to talk then about, what brings you the most joy in your work and business. And, I think you have a lot of good things to say about that.
Wow. There's so many things that bring me the
Yeah.
most joy, but I'll tell you, lately, at
Mhm.
least on this last trip to Italy,
Mhm.
one of the things that brought me the most joy was meeting these different people and interviewing them. Oh my God. I mean, I loved doing that last year when I was in Europe for
Mhm.
the 3 months I was there, but
Mhm.
this time I had set things up beforehand, and to be able to go in and meet these people, some of them I knew online and then
Mhm.
met them there, and others I had just met for the first time,
Mhm.
and really find out about their business and find out what they're doing and their family history and their traditions and how they make the products and that kind of thing. Just unbelievable. I mean, there was a couple of times where I was even in situations where, I'm just starting to learn Italian, right? So I'm just getting a few words here and there and a few phrases and that.
Yeah.
But because I speak French, because I'm pretty knowledgeable, and I do okay in German, and and I got some Spanish under my belt,
Yeah.
I could I was able to at least figure out what
Mhm.
they were saying part of the time. And that was a whole new level of experience for me, to be able to, even though we don't speak the same language, to be able to still relate to whomever it was that I was with, who's showing me around their Cintasanese farm, or their, pecorino,
Yeah.
dairy and all that, or etc. And to be able to really grasp what they were saying, and have them show me what's going on and connect with them in that way. That was incredible. That was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And those are the types of things that really bring me joy. I just get so excited every single time I go into any of these areas. And
Mhm.
it doesn't matter if it's here or if it's abroad, it doesn't matter. When
Mhm.
I'm like a kid in a candy store every single time I meet one of these people.
Yeah. Share about that the Mercado story that you mentioned to me last week, about you going in there and making videos based on
Oh,
what you bought.
yeah, that was I had the idea. I thought, here I am. I got an Airbnb. I'm in Florence.
Mhm.
The Airbnb is literally right across the street from the Mercado Centrale there.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to go into my favorite store, big old candy store where they got everything, butchers and fishmongers and produce and anything and everything that I could ever ask for. If I died and go to heaven, that's my heaven right
I
there.
know.
It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. Mercado.
And I just went in there and picked out a bunch of different product and brought it back to my apartment.
Mhm.
And then I decided that I was going to do some cooking demonstrations about, well, what can I do to, here I am in an Airbnb. I'm limited to whatever implements, whatever tools that are in the Airbnb. So let's make the best use of it. Here's the products I have. This is what I'm going to cook today. I made octopus. I made a pasta with these beautiful shrimp in it. I made they had these gorgeous porcini mushrooms
Oh my
that
goodness.
were just phenomenal. I mixed those with some guanciale and took that and then and I made and I got this whole section of boneless beef rib, and I made that and made potatoes with that and the porcinis with the guanciale, and I took all that when I had dinner with a friend. Um, but it was all about showing how you can make use of whatever you have and whatever's there, and not really being afraid to experiment and try different things.
Nice.
Because for me, it's the excitement of, well, let's go and see what looks good, and now let's go back and cook it and see what it's like. And you know what? Sometimes it comes out great and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But the more you try, the more you
Mhm.
experiment, and the less afraid you are of just, all right, I'm going to put it in the pan. And if I burn it a little bit, so what? If I overcook it a little bit, so what? But at least I'm experimenting. I'm playing with it. I'm working with it. I'm building what I like to call a library of flavor in my mouth,
Yeah.
so that I can think about what goes with what, et cetera, and go, okay, I've got this library. And the more you have that library in your mouth, the more you can go out and figure out, well, what foods go with what food, so that you can pair them right and cook them.
Yeah. Spoken from a true chef. Which is, it's one of your obviously specialties because you went to culinary school, right?
Yeah. I graduated from Cordon Bleu in 2004. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
worked fine dining and did guest chefing at
Mhm.
some restaurants and did wine dinners and catering and a whole variety of things.
That's great. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the creativity because I love culinary arts and I love the creativity that's required in it. So what you just explained is the creative science of it,
Yeah.
So the videos that you did in Florence, are those on your website as well as your YouTube channel?
Yes.
Can we see that?
Yep. Yeah, we're still in the process of editing them, but we do have, I think
Okay.
I've got 3 or 4 of them up so far.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I've got a video. We're getting ready to release a video. Well, I did one video last year of a chef in Morocco,
Oh.
in Marrakesh. And that was a bit of a challenge because I had to do that whole thing in French, So so I interviewed her in French, and she's an amazing chef, and she's got an amazing story. And she talks about because she went she went to France in the 1990s to expand her culinary career and learn. And she was the only woman in the kitchen with just nothing but in a male dominated world, male chefs in France.
Right.
And her story is pretty interesting. And I'm pulling that little excerpt also out of the overall interview so that we can have that, because, she talks about the trials and tribulations and how she had to really be so much better than any of the other men in the kitchen.
Sure.
To really prove herself so that nobody's going to really give her any problems. And so she had to work harder than anybody else and prove herself, and she's a phenomenal amazing chef.
Oh,
Absolutely amazing.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and because I know I've gone to the page, on your site where you have all, I mean, there's a ton of videos on this page. I mean, you could have a binge. It's binge worthy
Oh yeah.
for sure. So yeah, take a look at that. I'm assuming and I'm trying to remember, are they listed by date? I mean, how would someone know about let's say the octopus one that you did in
That
Florida?
would probably be listed under recipes or cooking. It'd be on the video page we have, it would be either under recipes or cooking, something along those lines.
Okay.
Because we have interviews, I think we broke it down into 3 or 4 different categories.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, now let's kind of move to because it's about intuition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is obviously the theme to this, which is, following your joy. Following your joy is not only a life and a business strategy, but it's our intuition, right? Our intuition, it's from our intuition that the joy is there that you follow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in other words,
Yeah.
it's intuitive. Okay. So share, a story. I know you have plenty, but knowing you for as long as I have, but pick a story where you followed your intuition, you followed your gut, right? And it led to a joyful, fulfilling result. Okay. And let me add this for everybody to understand is that when we follow our intuition, okay, and we can talk about that in just a little bit after we hear your story, but when you follow your intuition, it will always, always steer you in the right direction because it's meant for you and you only, rather than following outside of you advice that's not specific to you. And maybe you got it from social media. Maybe you got it from a friend. Maybe you got your wisdom and your intuition is always about your evolution. It's always about your good. It's always about moving you, if you will, to the next level or taking care of you, but it will never harm you. All right. So I just needed to add that.
Okay.
Okay. So what's your story?
Well, interestingly enough, I would say, I mean, there's a variety of them, but I would say the current business, Mise en Place, is where I've really followed my intuition from the beginning. I had this idea, I had this concept. I knew in my gut that this was the right thing to do. And,
Okay.
And I started to develop the idea. I started to bounce it off of people and talk to them and kind of go down that road. And I think I started to develop the first iteration of the website back in 2014, 13, 14, 15, somewhere around there. And, and then that wasn't quite working, but I kept going. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll make an app. And so I started to work on that. And then, my gut just was telling me that's not right. And I just kept, I kept mulling this over, and there was just this drive and this thing that I have to bring this to fruition. I have to, for lack of a better term, birth this baby. This has got to become a reality. And so I started to really work on it full force and to find vendors and to find people whose stories I could tell and to find interesting products and to just couldn't let go. I just could not. And that was, that's the very nutshell, really super short version of bringing this completely to fruition just by gut. And every time I would tell people about it, they would be, oh, wow, this sounds really cool. This sounds really cool. This sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And which was good to, kind of keep me going. But it was just like, somehow this is going to work somehow. And then once it got launched, then, I had to, me personally, I had to overcome the ideas of perfectionism, like, oh, I have to do this and I have to have this and I have to have all these things in place before I could launch it. And thank God I had my team, and they said, you know what, just get it live.
Right.
Just get it live, and you can always add to it. You can do this, but at least it'll be live. And you know what? That was the best thing I did, because we just put it live, and then it keeps evolving and it keeps growing and it keeps shifting and changing, and and the vision becomes sharper and sharper and sharper and clearer and clearer and clearer to where I am today, where it is so much more clear on what we're doing and what my purpose is and how I'm putting it together, rather than even a year ago, a year and a half ago.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And that's a good trait of following intuition, because you're going to always get clues. You're always going to get the next nudge. You're never going to get the whole picture. You know that.
No.
That's when you're not in your head, because our head, our logic, our practicality, our function says, I need to know what it's all going to look like. And I need to know when, and I need to know how long it's going to take. And I need to know. No, the less you know, the better.
Amen.
Follow the nudge, which is what you did. Right? You followed the nudge. You kept, like you said, it wouldn't go away. You just kept taking, I call it also, following the yellow brick road, following the breadcrumbs. Keep following it. And it will evolve and evolve and evolve to something much even greater than you thought of in your brain.
Right. Yeah. And the more I keep dropping the final outcome, the more I just keep, what's the next right action? What's the next right action? What's the next right action? And just stay focused on that, rather than, oh, this company is going to X, Y, and Z, and we're going to blah, blah, blah. No.
Yeah.
Let me just focus on what the next right action is. Do what this is, do what that, X, Y, and Z. And then I can keep moving forward without the paralysis and the fear and the worry of, oh my God, all these other things going on.
That's right.
And
that's, a lot of that too is the creative process. That's the beauty of the creative process, which is something that, I do myself, as well as what I teach many of my entrepreneurs, which is leaning back.
Right.
Leaning back, allowing the idea to incubate, allow the idea to take form. Don't be immediately, and this is probably one of the bigger challenges for creatives that I coach, is that they want to, and follow their own. It's kind of how, again, we've been taught. They get an idea and they think they have to take an action on it. No. Just write it down. I put it on a flip chart, and then I allow ideas, I call them divine downloads, to keep coming, and I'll just keep adding it and keep adding it. Lean back. Don't demand an action immediately, because you're going to miss out. Right?
Oh, completely. I'm exactly on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah.
To kind of like just keep that information coming in, mull it over, think about it. I mean, everybody has their own process, right? My process is, I really need to kind of like live with something for a bit. I'm learning, the older I get, and I guess the wiser I get, the more I learn to slow down and to kind of let ideas germinate and materialize, and what's that going to look like, and ask for help if that's the stage I'm in, and to look at those types of things, rather than, oh, I got this idea, I got to make it happen. Like 30 years ago, it'd be, everything has to be now. I have to do this right now. I can't wait. It's got to be done. And it's like, no, I mean, I listen to different different speakers and whatnot, and where they're interviewing young entrepreneurs in startups, and they're talking about how they're working 18, 20 hours a day. They're not sleeping. They're this, that, and the other. And sometimes I get caught up, wow, maybe I'm not doing enough. But then I have to remember, wait a second, you're a lot older than those guys. You've got a lot of life experience, a lot of business experience, a lot of
Yeah.
everything experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can take all of the things that I've learned to
Mm-hmm.
this point and go, okay, I don't have to work 18, 20 hours a day. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be sleep deprived and spiritually deprived and all these other things. I can do the work that I do with the team that I have and do it in such a way that we're getting everything done. We keep moving forward. We keep moving forward, but there's not the manic stuff going on because I've already gone through that.
Yeah.
So in some ways it makes it easier.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. No, of
yeah.
course. Absolutely. And I tend to even take it further. It's like, it doesn't matter what age you are.
Yeah.
In other words, and I know I'll have people out there going, no, we have to work 18-hour days. No, you don't.
Nope.
No, you don't. And you better not be. To me, that's just, it's pushing, it's pushing, it's pushing. That doesn't mean you're not going to meet your goal. Because that's born from, and the basis of the pushing is born out of fear. It's born out of not enough. It's born out of, I should say, coming from, it comes from a lack mentality that says, if I don't get this done, I'm not. Now, yes, I agree that sometimes you have to get things done because it'll be added to your plate the next day, which is also a long list.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. I get that. I do that myself. I'll go, no, I really need to get this done because I don't want to have to do it tomorrow. However, the overarching, concept that we're talking about is getting stuff done, right? It can get done in the right amount of time while you then also have a life.
Right. Because you can only function for so long. I mean, I remember when I was much younger, I remember doing photo shoots and I would be, trying to figure this out and doing this whole setup and it'd be 12, 15 hours. And finally I'd say, you know what? I got to stop. And then I'd come in the next morning and boom, everything. And I realized, you know what? You've got a maximum time of X, about 10 hours or so that you can really function. And that's where you're kind of, you're okay. Anything over that,
yeah,
at that point, it's diminishing returns.
Yeah, it's like your head is kind of mush. It is on me. It's like if I can't think sharply, or if I can't be in my creative mode, which is most of the time, that's the genius zone. If I can't be in that creative flow, I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to even do it. I'll just have to do it tomorrow when my mind is fresh.
Right.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Give one tip of, I know many, but we give one tip. It's okay. You've been around a while. You've got a lot of wisdom. Is give one tip of advice to our creatives that are listening. I know.
One tip. Geez. Boy, you're really putting me on the spot here. I mean, we've talked about some of it. We've talked about patience. Not being afraid to fail. Because for every failure, I know for me, every single failure I've had in my business life, in life period, has always given me an opportunity to, I look at that as learning opportunities, right? So when I failed, it's like, okay, great. Now I have the opportunity. I learned from that experience and I'm able to, the next time that I approach something similar, go, okay, well, this didn't work when I did it this way. So now I'm going to work when I do it this way. Or I had an experience with a client that hypothetically didn't pay me, or things, the job took a lot longer to finish and things. So now I've learned from that to change my terms so that I can get paid more frequently. Or if the client just holds up the job, then I get paid in full. And when the client decides that they're going to finish the job, then I'll finish it for them. But at least, so those are small examples of how we learn by the adversity and the failures and whatnot that we've had in business and in our lives. And so I would say that would be that's definitely that's a big one. Look at those. It's like, these are, wow, I just had this event happen in my life and wow, now I have a new opportunity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I call that the gift and the challenge.
Hmm.
There's a gift in mostly all challenges if you can get there to look at it that way rather than a victimhood, rather than the negative. Is like, okay, and like what you just, gave some examples. Anything is like, okay, all right, what's the gift and the challenge? Come
Right.
on. What am I here to learn? And it's, you've heard also silver lining, what's
Oh
the
yeah.
silver
Well,
lining in this? So,
and the other part is what's my part?
yeah.
Look at your side. Look at, I have to look at my side of the street.
Hmm.
It's not about everybody else and what
Yeah.
they did to me. It's about, well, what was my side of the street? What was my part in whatever it
Right.
was? So that way I can go, okay, now I can take care of, because you can't take care of what somebody else did, but you can
No.
take care of what you did.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
you know, and
Good.
that's always a place that I come from quite a bit in whatever the issue is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's wise advice, Mr. Mandel.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so where can people get in touch with you, and anything that you want to offer,
You know what? They can get in touch with me on the website,
okay.
miseonplace.com.
Mhm.
If you go to the website, I believe we have a sign up thing, and you can
Okay,
get a 10% discount on your first order.
great.
Um, they can, of course, look at my YouTube channel and Facebook and LinkedIn and all of that, and connect with me through
Okay.
all of those places. Yeah, and I think we even have a chat on our website that you can go in there and chat, and we will get back to you, and you can even ask specific questions. Hey, how do I cook this? What do I do? Great, and we'll make sure that we answer those. Any culinary question that you've got, we'll do the best we can to answer it. We may not be able to answer it, you know, live, but we'll definitely get back to you if you leave
Good.
us an email or a way to contact you. Yeah.
All right. Or they can reach you, direct message on Instagram, or
Yeah. Direct message on LinkedIn,
yeah.
Instagram,
Right.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. And we'll have, as normal, we'll have those in the show notes where they can reach you on social media. And then, of course, the correct spelling of the website name. Uh,
Yes. Mizenplace. Yeah.
that's it. Yeah. Is that French? What is
It's
that?
French, mise en place. Yeah. The actual real spelling is Mise, but quite frankly, that domain name was taken.
Oh.
So that's why I changed it from SE to Z. And every once in a while, somebody says, you spelled it wrong. And it's like, well, yeah, I know I spelled it wrong, but that was the domain name we were able to
Got
get.
it.
So
You know, so if it's such a simple, story behind the name, it's like, yeah, it
yeah.
wasn't available. That's great. All right. Well, terrific. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
As always, a fun animated conversation with a fellow creative. So everybody, until next week, Merry Christmas, and always follow your joy, because why? Success leaves you clues. Watch out for that. And, really pay attention to those. All right. Very good. Happy holidays. And I'll talk with you next week. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening in. You can find more entrepreneurial stories and resources at marladiane.com. And while you're there, enjoy my 3 free downloads to uplevel your business and your life. How about you take a screenshot of this episode and tag me on Instagram by sharing your highlights of what you learned today? I'd love to connect there with you. Until next episode, take care.